Chapter 5, August 21st. Pat's husband had a terrible accident a few weeks ago. This good family can't seem to catch a break. Besides me and Jake, there are the twins, and she'd just taken in their new baby sister, 5 foster kids, and a serious incident that Pat hasn't reported yet. She doesn't want us to have to leave, especially Jake. He needs the stability, the time to heal. I overheard Pat praying in her room, asking for a miracle. I wonder if the original angels could hear the prayers of ordinaries. I wonder how they knew where they were needed. After Samuel was rescued and the daggers created, the angels decided it was too dangerous for them to be alone. But the world was too large for the 3 of them to always be together. There was too much to do. So many demons bringing pain and darkness. The angels decided to have children, to be able to pass their knowledge and energy on to their descendants so they would not have to do the work alone. But when Valde Novo created angels to protect his creations, he had chosen them for their goodness and purity, and he had divided his knowledge and power into thirds so that no single being would be able to make the same mistake as his son. Mistakes. So many mistakes. The angels, in their fear, undid both of Valde Novo's carefully planned protections. Did the angels make a mistake in breaking the rules of Valde Novo? They combined their knowledge and energy to rewrite the DNA of descendants, granting them the ability to choose a guardian. Did they use that power as wisely as Valde Novo? Was it a mistake to give the energy and knowledge of creation to their descendants, not knowing the purity and goodness of the souls who would inherit it? They had designed a system where ordinaries would no longer be protected, but dragged into a war that was meant for immortals. Pat's prayers are echoing in my head, even as I'm writing these words. I haven't used my descendant power since I ran away, because I'm afraid of making another mistake, but I don't know if I can listen to her cry herself to sleep for another night. Treadon Nelson. Jaron parked the car. Treadon rolled out of the passenger side door. He had to lean against the car to catch his breath. My driving isn't that bad. Jaron brushed some invisible dust from his steering wheel. Nope, you're a great driver. I get a little car sick. My car has a firm no-vomit policy. You should have warned me. Treadon stood up and rolled out his shoulders. Hey, I made it, didn't I? Let's see this new security system. Otherwise, me getting sick in your car is the least of your worries. Okay. Jaron jumped from the door, closed the roof, and pressed the lock button on his keys. He walked around the car to stand by Treadon. There are motion sensors all around the car. If someone gets close, it talks. Jaron stepped closer to the car, and a woman's voice emanated from the car. Please back away from the vehicle. Please back away from the vehicle. Treadon shook his head. That's not going to stop someone from keying your car. Here. Jaron held out a traditional metal house key. You're joking. Nope, I wanted a different color anyway. See what damage you can do. Treadon took the key and held it out. He wouldn't really scratch it, but he was curious enough to see what would happen. He was still several inches away from the paint when he felt an electric shock hit his hand and travel up his arm. Ouch! Treadon dropped the keys. What was that? It's the new security system. Jaron had a little too much enthusiasm in his voice. It has something to do with the metal getting too close to the car, and that was only level 2. It goes up to 10. You want to find out what that feels like? No, do it yourself. That was my throwing arm. Treadon swung his arm up and around in a circle, testing the damage. Well, we could try it for freshman initiation, see what level 10 feels like, without actually feeling it. That would get us kicked off the team faster than you could say daddy's boy. Treadon couldn't help laughing at the wounded look on Jaron's face. Not saying it wouldn't be fun, but maybe not worth it. They walked away from the car and joined the flow of kids walking toward the school. Treadon scanned the crowd, looking for the girl with the deep brown eyes and the searing glare. Her words came back to him. Someone who could see so much, but chooses to see nothing. His mom's words joined in. What makes you different is what makes you important. He didn't want to be different. He didn't want to stand out. He did want to do something good for his mom, and he had a way to do that. By fitting in, by playing football. He didn't need anything more than that. Do you want to skip first period and hit the gym? Jaron asked. Coach Bracken will write us a note. You've got study hall first period. You skip 90% of the time. So I'm jealous. I've got math with Ashes of Hellcroft. I can't miss. Ooh. Jaron put his fist over his mouth, like he just witnessed a painful tackle. He's not a fan of athletes, football players specifically. Are you going to be able to stay eligible? Not if I skip to go to gym. Sorry, man. I'll catch you on the other side. Jaron jogged off, and Treadon trudged toward class. He sat down at a desk in the back row, where he could still see out the door, watching the students who passed, hoping to see her again, the girl who didn't want to be seen. Why don't you have your notebook out, Mr. Nelson? A bony hand with a patch of hair growing on the back slammed down on his desk. Treadon jumped. He hadn't been paying attention, but he was pretty sure the bell hadn't rung. Several kids slipped in the door and scurried to their seat. Students sitting near him pulled notebooks from their backpacks and placed them on their desk. He hadn't been the only student not ready. Math teaches reasoning skills and is a very important part of your education. Football can't give you that, Mr. Nelson, and I will not be giving free points just because you leave for school-approved absences. I will expect all work to be made up and all material covered in class to be reviewed on your own time. Treadon kept his hands under his desk so Mr. Ashcroft wouldn't see the fists he made. The anger surged up through him, but all he did was nod. Mr. Ashcroft scowled and returned to the front of the room. The tardy bell rang. He turned his whiteboard and started writing equations. Mr. Ashcroft was a short, skinny man with a receding hairline and unkempt curly hair. He had a long, pinched nose that created a nasal voice and a high-pitched noise when he breathed too hard. When Mr. Ashcroft got angry or excited, his voice became so high, Treadon was sure every dog within 2 blocks was going nuts. There will be a quiz each morning. I suggest you take notes and complete the assignments because quizzes will be 40% of your grade. He locked Treadon with a stony stare, as if the instructions had been only for him. Treadon didn't react, but he never let his eyes leave Mr. Ashcroft's murky gray ones. He wasn't going to give Mr. Ashcroft the satisfaction. Treadon pulled out his notebook and copied the numbers and letters Mr. Ashcroft wrote that seemed to appear without reason or explanation. By the time the bell rang, he was thoroughly confused. If he had a gift for reading numbers instead of people, maybe he would be better at math than football, but he didn't. He couldn't let his grades get in the way of playing. Without a college scholarship and an NIL deal, he wouldn't have a way to get his mom away from Gabe. He wasn't going to let Mr. Ashcroft stand in the way of that. He just had to keep his grades above a C. Somehow, that felt like an impossible task with that man as a teacher.